in between the previous edition or whatever in this series, the previous episode. It's been like a couple years, but yeah, there were some massive edits done. That was one of the reasons why I didn't record anything. Not that anyone's actually gonna, listen to this. For reference, yeah, a lot of edits were done, like a ton. The first book in this series, Blurred Weaponry, ended up at 600 or so pages in Microsoft Word, which is where I write because all the other fancy stuff is too fancy and it's kind of distracting. No offense to Scrivener. But yeah, I ended up cutting like 100 pages out. A little over 100 pages. It was 600 or so, maybe 598, 599, and then brought it down to 494, 495, something around there. Literally just hacking and slashing away. I forget the name of the editor because I'm a garbage human being. I'll put it in the description. He was real good. He was like real smart. And a bunch of the advice that he gave me, I was like, what? You want me to turn this 7-page action scene into 1 page? That seems impossible, I said to myself because I didn't want to be rude. And then I did it and it was 1 page and it was so much better. It was like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. You're right. You're great. You're good at this. You're a professional editor and I'm a dipshit. I'm also going to be cursing from now. I don't care. But yeah, like as far as those edits, they actually coincidentally start the major stuff at about chapter 7 and on, which was where I'm going to keep going today. So, let's go ahead and close my bedroom door in a minute. That's not necessary for it to be open. No one's here, but still. And next up is chapter 7, Bullets. Bullets, an appropriately lazy title, because that's what gets shot a lot in this chapter. This is only one of 2 chapters in the book in Ness. Only one of 2 chapters in his POV. And it's the first action scene where the reader can see directly into Dosto's training. Saint Chrysamian Dosto. What he's teaching people to do, basically. And Ness is good at it. He's good. This is a violent chapter, the first truly violent chapter in the book. It's also very environmental. Ness uses everything around him, including himself, as a tool in this fight, which is pretty common for these guys. That's how they fight. That's how it was seen that Dosto was fighting earlier. You see someone else do it, and it's like, oh, they really are being trained to be like him. They use the environment an absolute ton. And it's actually pretty hard to write for them because they are so, like, I don't get into fights. I'm a wuss bag. Or a wuss sack. I don't know. Whatever. As a wuss bucket, I don't know how to fight. Like, I would just be flailing and blah, blah, blah. But these guys their brains are sped up some of the time using that open iris skill. That's almost magical. When they do that, they see every possibility around them. I mean, not every, still human. So they just get more options in how they want to fight. I really wanted to show this chapter as that. So this is one of the heaviest edited chapters in the book. I mean, it over and over and over again. I mean, there must have been 15 versions of this chapter. Mostly the same, mostly in the same order, but God, just a rough one. I needed this to be like an exemplary version of Ness fighting. I also needed to show that this world is not violent in general. So all the violence that's happened in this book is surprising. And Ness, this is his first real combat encounter. He's well trained, but yeah, this shocks him. He does not like this at all. Doesn't want to do it, but absolutely has to. After that, Do or Die series of events is chapter 8, Stings. I don't remember why I called it that. Like, no idea. None. I mean, it's a word. It's plural. It makes sense, right? I don't know. But this is the aftermath of the fight. Sort of the adrenaline dropping scenario. where Ness and Trenna both have to deal with what just took place. Trenna slightly injured, Ness, okay, some bruises and stuff, but nowhere near hurt, and he just murdered a lot of people. It was a rough fight, but they did not get close to killing him at all, which is kind of the point. Like, it takes a ton of people to kill one of these guys, and Ness kind of proved it. Ness and Trenna, they sort of comfort each other here, just sort of try and come down off of the terrible things that just happened. Trenna helps Ness by helping him keep his mind on the importance of what he's done. Despite the violence, he did save her life in this slowed down moment. We get to have him talk a little bit about his past for the first time. Again, this is only the second of 2 chapters that you're going to see Ness's point of view. We're not going back to him. He talks about things, but not in any major way. So it was really important to me to get this chapter where you see him with basically a stranger, and he talks a little bit about a couple things. Nothing truly personal, but just a story about the school and something that happens in it that is meant to really surprise Trenna, sort of help her understand that they are survivors. The students of Warnadai Academy and members of the Dravana security forces, they can get shit done. This was proven now, and it's almost a way of saying, hey, if this happens again, we'll probably be okay. Or at least I'll try to make sure that we're okay. He's not good at this. He's not good at comforting, people. Maybe it's, I think I wrote that in his personality by accident, but it works. A conversation earlier in the book was actually written after this chapter was finished. He does the same kind of thing, and I kind of repeat that as an ongoing personality trait, just to kind of mock him for being young and stupid. The last chapter I'll cover for today is chapter 9, Where Are You? We see San showing up to that aftermath of the fight against Trenna's sort of homeless folks. This is a point where I switch paths to the rest of the book. Like the stuff before this was the start of the book. This is the rest of the book. San shows up here, and she wasn't here for the actual fighting and just sees this bloody aftermath. Blood, guts, brains, bodies everywhere. And Dosto is gone. He's just disappeared. They actually don't expect him to be missing. They expect him to just be relaxing somewhere, chilling after kicking some ass. And then he's not there. They call for him. They try to find him. He's not there at all. This was, as far as the first time we see San's point of view, it was a little bit of a rough chapter to write, because San comes in here absolutely pissed and confused and worried. She's usually sensible and smart. She's a leader. She's much higher rank than Ness. I don't remember what the rank systems were. I've changed it a couple times. I think she's the 3rd highest rank in the school after only a couple years there. She's a leader. She's a trainer. She's a teacher, despite her age. But from where she grew up, this is the type of person she is. Comes in quite different than she should. She kind of knows it, so I don't think I wrote it in that she kind of knows it, but the way she quickly calms herself after Ness's explanations of what happened, that was a way of me doing a show don't tell thing with her, calming herself down and trying to find the logic and pattern of the situation rather than lose her temper and make bad decisions. That's not like her. When she came in just absolutely pissed, that was supposed to be not like her. And then after a while, it's sort of like, I don't know how this works or whatever psychologically, but that thing where you aren't your real personality when you're that upset, when you're that full of whatever garbage chemicals are in you and you're just in a panic. She comes in that panic and then slowly, well, not slowly, pretty quickly, changes back down to her normal, logical, intelligent leader self. This is another chapter that was pretty rough to write, but because I already had a lot of personality stuff going with these guys, it ended up being faster than I thought it would go. But I started this chapter and I was like, this is gonna be, I don't know what I'm doing. So the rewrites for this chapter ended up being very small things, but a ton of them. A word here, a word there, conjunction here, conjunction there. It's a chapter about micro, not macro. And I tend to, you kind of have to know your strengths, and my strengths are the macro. I can make a good story, a good plot, a good set of twists, decent array of characters, just right out of my ass. I can just, whatever. The problem is the writing. I'm just not a good writer. So this chapter was a sort of, hey, guess what? This is nothing that you're good at. This whole chapter, not a thing. And I just had to hammer away at it. But it was this weird, tiny little hammer. Isn't it a tiny little hammer? This was, actually, you know what? This one, chapter 9 and chapter 8, were both pretty strong tests of my willpower. Because it just, both of them were just conversational points and personality quirks the whole way through. I just had to kind of, I had to stamp down, like, this is what writing is. Like, I can't just have a bunch of action scenes. I can't just have things blow up all the time, which I'm good at. When stuff stops blowing up and people stop having jokey conversations, this is when it gets serious, and this is when I just had to kind of really, really focus down on what I wanted these characters to be. As many editions of these chapters as I did, it ended up working out pretty well. The editor, which again I will put at the bottom of the description, ended up liking these chapters, and at the end he said Son, whose POV we're going to keep going on with over and over again throughout the rest of the book, ended up being his favorite character, which worked out because that was kind of the idea, where the main character is supposed to be the main character, but you end up liking him less than other people. Well, that's it. I don't remember what number of Click for Spoiler this is, but this has been Click for Spoiler. Any details of the book, the releases, the name of the editor that did such a great job, and I thank him immensely, all that stuff is in the description below. Thank you for watching, listening, whatever. There's nothing to see, but thanks for listening. Peace out.